Hi everyone, welcome to the Bell the Cat series of videos. My name is Tony Xavier and I'm the Chief Learning Officer of IMS. These series of videos are a companion to my book called The Bell the Cat, which is available on Amazon. In this particular video, I'll be looking at this question type called missing sentence in paragraph and the before-after method to solve that. So the missing sentence in paragraph, if you ask me, it's the most recent question types in CAT verbal ability. It was maybe just launched a couple of years back, and it's possibly the easiest VA question type of all. Why do I say that? One, unlike jumbled paragraphs or incorrect sentence in context, the sentences are not jumbled. The sentences are all in sequence. So one big headache of that jumbling part goes away. The paragraph is perfect as it is. And unlike summary questions, there are no tricky options with wordplay and paraphrasing. So there is no reading comprehension element also involved. So if you look at the whole verbal ability, there are two parts to it. One part is that reading comprehension element of paraphrasing the context that sentences that are given. That is tested both on reading comprehension as well as summary. And the second part is this whole thing of jumbling sentences. In this particular question type, both of these issues are not there, which is why I feel it's the easiest question type on VA. And how do you use this before-after method? Now, typically, this is how the question comes. You have a sentence which is given, and then you have a paragraph, and you're asked to figure out where does this fit. Step one. Read the sentence and note down what has to come before and what can likely come after the sentence. So you're reading a sentence. So the sentence will give you some clue or the other. Before this sentence comes, I need to at least have this information. For example, that introductory idea, some sort of an idea where a sentence says, this finding will tell us that this one. But what is this finding? What is that this referring to, right? So always read that sentence, okay? Every single word in this sentence or every single phrase part of the sentence you need to have that full information before this sentence comes. Or for example, the sentence says, he added that this is very, very important. Now, who is that he that is added? So before that, the he should also be clear, right? So you know that wherever the sentence has to come, before that, there should be enough sentences that are helping you give you this information. The next thing is after. So after this sentence also, you will get some clue. After this should definitely follow. For example, if the sentence says, this discovery explains many similarities. That means after this, immediately you need to have the similarities, right? So once you make a note in your head of the before after, then you go to the option elimination process. How do you eliminate the options? So first thing, you made the before after reading the sentence. Read the sentences in sequence and you keep looking for the before idea. I need something to tell me what this finding is. I need to tell me who this person is, right? So eliminate every option until all before ideas are fully elaborated. Sometimes before can be more than one reasons. So suppose it says before because of all of these reasons or there are many reasons, all of those reasons should be elaborated. One thing that you should keep in mind is that whatever before idea is there, usually the paragraph will take a few sentences. Sometimes it can be one sentence, sometimes it can be a few sentences, right? Ensure that you are not choosing an option that is breaking the flow, right? All similar ideas or all related ideas should always come close to each other, right? So ensure that all the before ideas, whenever you're eliminating the option, that all similar ideas are together, all before information you're getting, and you're not breaking into anything. Once you know this has to go here, right? All the before ideas are there. Use the after ideas as a way to confirm your answer, right? Or in case you're stuck between two options, it can either be this or this. I feel it can fit into both these places. Then use the after idea. In the after idea, what trick should you use? You should use this fact that whatever is the after idea that should follow, that should immediately follow this sentence. Suppose I'm saying this explains many similarities, then immediately after the similarity should follow. There cannot be some other sentence between that, right? So resolve it using the after idea logically. Apart from a logical resolution, there is another thing that you can use, which is that after, suppose you've decided, okay, 3 is the portion where this goes. Just ensure that before you mark the answer, you're checking, after that, wherever you inserted option 3, the next sentence and this missing sentence are not clashing. For example, the next sentence says they. That they have a reference in this missing sentence, or is that they referring to something else that has come before, right? So ensure that there is no clash between the missing sentence and the sentence that comes after it. After you insert it, that's your last check, right? So between these 2-3 steps, it becomes very easy to answer these questions. I feel that you can answer them in 1 minute flat, and that's how easy it is. Yeah. Let's go and see how you do it. We'll take a few CAT questions, and then we'll see as to how you can solve these things. Now, first one. Understanding Central Asia's role helps developments makes more sense not only across Asia, but in Europe and Americas and Africa, right? Understanding Central Asia's roles helps these developments, right? So before this, directly, I cannot say understanding this role helps. I need some information, right? The historical context of Central Asia's role, why is it not understood these days? Why is Central Asia important? And why is it not understood these days? That is important. Now, before we go ahead, there is an important point. When you have these options that are given for where this missing sentence can go, in the odd case, it can be that there is a number 1 written right at the beginning of the paragraph. It means that this missing sentence is the starting sentence only, right? So first take a look at that. If the missing sentence, if there is 1 right at the beginning of the paragraph, that means there is a chance that this can be an introductory sentence also, right? There won't be anything before this. That's a chance. But if you know that in the paragraph 1 is not given at the beginning, that means straight away, there is something that is before. In this particular question, there is nothing, no number 1 that is given, option 1 that is given right at the beginning of the paragraph. So there is definitely something before. So you need to understand why is Central Asia important and why is this thing not understood. After what should happen, it is saying that it makes more sense not only across Asia, but in Europe, Americas and Africa. Why is it this? They're saying you should understand. Why should we understand? We know. But how does it make more sense? Why will this understanding help us understand developments across the world? That is also very important. So I'm looking for a context for this before and the reasons for this after. So now I'm going to read this. The nations of the Silk Roads are sometimes called developing countries, but they're actually some of the world's most highly developed countries, the very crossroads of civilization in advanced states of despair. It's saying that, okay, the Silk Road countries are actually, they're called developing countries, but they're already developed. It's just that they're right now in a bad shape, right? Now, can one be the option? This even sentence is talking about Central Asia. Before once Asia itself is not mentioned, Silk Road is mentioned. Yes, logically, if you have external information, right, you know that that Silk Roads form Central Asia. It might or might not be necessary that it is explicitly mentioned. Okay, but technically Asia is not mentioned yet, or Central Asia is not mentioned. And I said that all the before ideas should be thoroughly elaborated. This is just an introductory sentence that why should we understand? It's just saying that once upon a time they were developed. Now they're not developing. They were developed. It's in disrepair. But is it giving you enough information about why we should understand it? No. So eliminate one, go ahead. These countries lie at the center of global affairs. They have since the beginning of history. Running across the spine of Asia, they form a web of connections spanning out in every direction. Routes along which pilgrims and warriors, nomads and merchants have traveled. Goods and produce have been bought and sold. Ideas exchanged, adapted and refined. Right? So they're talking about all the reasons why, the Central Asian countries were important. Now, look at, before you introduce it to, see if it is breaking anything. I said it should, whenever I'm giving the before ideas should be in one set and introducing something should not break it. What is the next sentence? They have not only carried prosperity, but also death, violence and disaster. So they're continuing to explain the importance of the Central Asian countries. So that has to go together, and inserting that in 2 will be breaking it, right? Also, this sentence is starting with they. They have carried out not only prosperity. Who does this they refer to? They refers to these countries. So if you introduce this missing sentence in the middle, the reference to they goes and disappears. Hence, you need to, option 2 also gets eliminated. Next one. They have not only carried out prosperity, but also death, violence and disaster. The Silk Roads are the world's central nervous system connecting otherwise far-flung peoples and places. Right? Now, can it be option 3? Again, option 3 is not correct because it is fitting everything in, that is breaking the flow of why these countries are important, which is why this sentence also is important. It also should come before the missing sentence. So option 4 is the best possible location. If you look at what is option 4 after that, it says, it allows us to see patterns and links, causes and effects that remain invisible if one looks only at Europe or North America. We're looking at why this understanding helps us. This is the after part. So the after part is clearly coming this after option 4. And there is another crucial reason why option 4 is the right answer. Because after you fit it, I said check the next sentence. The Silk Roads are the world's central nervous system, connecting otherwise far-flung peoples and places. Understanding Central Asia's role helps developments make more sense, not only across Asia, but this one. It allows us. After you fit it, check, does the next sentence connect or not? It allows us, it refers to what? It refers to the understanding, right? So which is why it is not clashing with the next sentence, and option 4 is the best possible option. Right? So always ensure that you're getting all the before ideas, because the given sentence is such a big sentence, almost like a summary sentence. We know that there has to be a lot of explanation that should come before it, which is why 1, 2, 3 are not the answers, and option 4 is the right answer. Let's look at the next question. The brain isn't organized the way you might set up your home office or bathroom medicine cabinet. Now for this question, at the paragraph that follows this missing sentence, option 1 is given right at the beginning of the paragraph. That means that this can be a starter. Also, if I read this, I'm not getting an idea as to what should come before it. The brain isn't organized the way you might set up your home or office or bathroom medicine. It can be a great starter. Right. So I definitely don't think that this can be an interactive statement. I'll keep that there and look at the next sentence. What should come after? How is the brain actually organized? Why is it different from an office or cabinet? All of that explanation should definitely come after that. Now I'll look at it. Option 1, let me see if it fits. The brain isn't organized the way you might set up your home office or bathroom medicine cabinet. You can't just put things anywhere you want to. After this, clearly they're giving all the reasons why. The evolved architecture of the brain is haphazard. Evolution does not design things. There is no our this thing. Brain is more like a big house. So everything after is following. So this is the initial question that is just introducing the idea, saying brain is not like this. Why is the explanation, right? Now, suppose now you want to check, but can't it come anywhere else? If this can't come anywhere else, that means you just can't put things anywhere you want to. That is the first sentence. Then that has no reference. Who are we talking to when you're saying you? What does putting things anywhere refer to? There is absolutely no reference if the missing sentence is not coming first. If the missing sentence is coming first, we know that you is a continuation of the previous sentence. The brain is organized the way you might set up a home office. You just can't put things anywhere. Making it fairly simple that there is no other way the first sentence can go, because otherwise the next sentence, it has no referent whatsoever. Right? Fairly easy question, possibly the easiest that you can get. Because I explained it, I took this much time, but otherwise at the moment you read it, you know that option 1 is the answer, roughly 30 seconds. You don't even need to read the rest of the sentences. Right? So the answer on this one, option 1. Next one, the Europeans did not invent globalization. Now, straight away, this is a very tricky thing. The Europeans did not invent globalization. So this seems like either the sentence comes right at the beginning, right? Or this comes towards the end. Because whenever I'm making an argument, I can do it 2 ways. I am either first giving all the reasons and giving the answer, an argument at the end, or I present the argument at the beginning and give all the reasons. Now, this is a very, very big statement that the Europeans did not invent globalization. So either before this, there will be many sentences, or after this, there will be many sentences. That much is clear, right? So context for the discussion. So this can come before. Why people think Europeans invented, that can be the reason. And after can also be who actually invented it. If it's not Europeans, then who, right? Either way, it is beginning or right towards the end. Very unlikely that it's somewhere in the middle. Right? Now let's look at it. And there was no option 1 right at the beginning of this paragraph. It has to come somewhere in the middle. Right? The first phase of globalization occurred long before the introduction of either steam or electric power. Chinese consumers at all social levels consumed what this thing. Peoples of Southeast Asia lived in forests who gave up this thing to supply Chinese consumers. These exchanges of the year 1000 opened some of the routes through which goods and people continued to travel after Columbus traversed the Mid-Atlantic. So this is giving the entire backstory as to why the Europeans did not invent globalization, to say that it was happening long before and that these exchanges of the year 2000 opened some of the routes, right? So option 1 is definitely rolled out, because even if you try to fit it, the Europeans did not invent, because these exchanges, because after that it would be these exchanges. These exchanges cannot refer to Europeans, it has to refer to the exchanges between Southeast Asia and Chinese. So option 1 is ruled out. Now we come to option 2, right? These exchanges of the year opened some routes through which goods and peoples continue to travel. Yet the world of 1000 differed from that of 1492 in important ways. Now this sentence is talking about the year 1000 and it is talking about the year this thing. Suddenly in the middle, it cannot have the Europeans invented, not invent globalization, because there is no reference to that year 1000. It's coming bang in the middle, right? So that explanation is still not sufficient as to why did they not invent, right? So this concern, yet the world of 1000 differed from that of 1492 in important ways. The travelers who encountered one another in the year 1000 were much closer technologically. So 1492 is much later. They're saying that the world of 1000 in the year of 1492 was very, very different, in the sense that the travelers who encountered one another were much closer, right? So after that, the next sentence is tricky. They changed and augmented what was already there since 2000. Now, who are the people who changed and augmented? The world between 1000 and 1492 is very different. And the next sentence said, they changed and augmented. So are these travelers in 1000 changing things by 1492? That is not possible. Travelers of the year 1000 could not have changed in the 1492. So try to insert the missing sentence here, because they've given you a whole idea to say as to why the people other than Europeans had invented globalization. Now put this sentence in. The Europeans did not invent globalization. They changed and augmented what was already there since 1000. Right? So the previous sentence is saying there's a difference between 1000 and 1492. Right? The Europeans did not invent it, but they changed what was already there since 1000. If globalization hadn't yet begun, Europeans wouldn't have been able to penetrate the markets in so many places as quickly as they did after 1492. So you might be confused between 3 and 4. Introduce 3 at 3 and see that the next sentence, what did I say? After what needs to come after, right? So as to why the Europeans did not do it. And after that, always insert the sentence and see, is the next sentence making sense or is it clashing? And 3, if you put it, the Europeans did not invent globalization, there is no clash. They changed and augmented what was already there, that they has a clear referent. If you put the sentence in 4, who does that they refer to? They would have to refer to the Europeans, but that would be missing and they cannot refer to the travelers, which is why here option 3 is the right answer. Moderate difficulty question compared to the previous one, but still can be done pretty fast. Next one. Yet each day the flock produced eggs with calcareous shells, though they apparently had not ingested any calcium, from which was entirely lacking in limestone. Now, quite a few things. Directly you're saying, yet each day the flock produced eggs. So before this, what should happen? Definitely what birds are being talked about here, that should be there as to what flocks of are we looking at, right? Next part is they're saying, yet each day. That means something is happening despite something else, right? Yet each day the flock produced eggs with calcareous shells, that though they apparently had not ingested any calcium. So one part you need to know definitely before this sentence, what all should get covered. What is the reason for this yet? That context has to be there. So it seems as if there is a lot of information that is missing. What birds are these? And why are they, producing eggs with cancerous cells? All of that explanation has to come before. What should come after? though apparently they had not ingested any calcium. Eggs have calcium despite the birds not ingesting any calcium. So after this sentence, the reason for this should be revealed. So definitely the implications of this finding and the reason should be revealed after this. Now if I go to the paragraph. Early in this century, a young Breton schoolboy who, preparing himself for a scientific career, began to notice a strange fact about hens in his father's poultry yard. So straight away this sentence is some part of the before information given. Yes. What flock are we talking about? Hens. Is the information as to why is it yet and why is this calcareous shells are being this produced? Has that information been given there? Is there a justification for yet? No. So option 1 can be eliminated. As they scratch the soil, they constantly seem to be pecking at specks of mica, a siliceous material dotting the ground. Now they're pecking at mica, a siliceous material dotting the ground. So now, is the information for yet there? Is it very, very clear? What is this contradiction? Why is there yet? You might think, yeah, because if they're eating mica, why are they producing eggs with calcareous cells? That might be yet. But always, I told you one thing, that whenever you're looking at before information, all before ideas that are related to the same supporting idea should come together, right? After this sentence, the next sentence is again talking about mica. No one could explain to Louis Kevran why the chickens selected the mica and why each time a bird was killed for family cooking, no trace of mica could be found in the gizzard. So they're still talking about mica. You should not break the idea. This is the entire idea that is elaborating as to these birds are pecking at mica. Nobody knows why they're eating mica, and anyway it was not found later, right? So the context for the yet is getting settled. Now we come to the next sentence. It took many years to establish that the chickens were transmuting one element to the other, right? Now, what's the best place for this? Option 3 or option 4, right? If it's option 4, what element is getting transferred from one to the other? We do not know, because there is no reference to that if this comes at the end. But if it exactly comes in option 3, if that is where the missing sentence needs to be placed, it makes a lot of sense, right? Yet each day the flocks produce eggs. The entire part of mica is given, right? That hens are working at mica. Mica is not there in the gizzard, yet each day the eggs are producing eggs with calcium, with calcium in their cells. Apparently they're not having any calcium. How is this happening? This explanation is coming in the next sentence. It took Kevran many years to establish that chickens were transmuting one element into the other. So the explanation for the finding or the implication, the after, is also clearly there, which is why the best position for this is option 3. Science has officially crowned us superior to our early rising brethren. Science has officially crowned us superior to our early rising brethren. Now, straight away, you know that who does this us refer to, right? Who is this us? So, before this particular sentence, all sentences that are telling you who is this us, those sentences should come together. You should not break it. What is the after? After this, what should come? Science has told us that has crowned us superior to our early rising brethren. Now, already you can infer something. If we are superior to us, this us refers to superior to other people who are early rising brethren. This us refers to the late people who wake up late, right? Or say people who sleep late, sleep very, very late. So, science has crowned us superior. So, after this sentence, what should come? What is the evidence? Why has science crowned these late risers as superior? Which study has shown that? What are the implications? All of those things have to come later. Before definition of us, after the study that has said that they are superior. Now, my fellow night owls, grab a strong cup of coffee and gather around. I have great news. For a long time, our kind has been unfairly maligned, stereotyped as lazy and undisciplined, told we ought to be morning larks, advised to go to bed early so that we can wake up before 5 a.m. and run a marathon before breakfast like how all high flyers seem to do. Now, however, we are having the last laugh. So if you see, entire essay should never break the flow, entire detailed elaboration of who us is. Us as all of those people who are late risers and the various things that they were called. Now, however, we are having the last laugh. Why are we having the last laugh? Option 2, exactly the sentence fits in there. Science has officially crowned us superior, to our early rising brethren, right? So clearly here, why are we having the last laugh? The reason for the last laugh should be mentioned. And by now, entire part of description of who is us is there. So option 2 ideally is the best option, but just go and check. It may be a tad more complicated that a study published last week shows that this is this. So clear demarcation of this passage into 2 parts. Before option 2, entire description of us, which is what you wanted in before. After option 2, entire description of the study, which is also what you wanted in the after. Right? So a fairly straightforward question, should have taken you in an exam context under 3 to 4 minutes. Now, the advantage of this before after method is that once you know after this, all of this should come, and once that starts, you know that all related ideas are together. You don't need to, in this particular question, try to fit it and see, is option 3 possible? Is option 4 possible? Not required, because once the after ideas have started, all of those should be together. Yeah. So the right option in this one, option 2. Now, a few things about this. This question type, we know that, it demands the least practice to master. You don't need a lot of practice to figure out how this works, right? If you're attempting VA in a stretch, so people sometimes attempt first all the VA questions, then RC, or some people attempt RC first and then VA, right? So whenever you're attempting VA, this should be the first question type to attempt, because very short time, very high accuracy that is possible. So I would say it's a sure shot, 6 to 9 marks, and the easiest question type, on the CAT. So go ahead, execute the before-after method. It's a pure logical reasoning exercise, which is also what I feel that makes it interesting for me also when I solve this. So hope you also enjoy this process of looking at what should come before, what should come after logically. I would say think of it like a movie, that they've shown you one scene in a movie. And based on this, you should say, okay, if they're talking about all of this, I need to know all of this before, I need to know all of this after this. Yeah. So that is what will really help you. Yeah. So go ahead, happy practicing. Hope you like this video. Thank you.